Yarata worker. That's right. One and all, welcome back to the channel for some good old alopecia. We've got game number 1 between B and Voldemar. A matchup that Voldemar usually describes as just need to get whooped by B. Let's see if it's going to happen today, especially when Voldemar whips out something strong like this. Chinese feeling like one of the best picks on alopecia, on any map in general. But B has gone for the Lancastrians. I'm wondering, is this just going to be your good old-fashioned Fast Castle? Because Fast Castle House of Lancaster has been taken over, folks. It's a bit dirty right now. I think it actually might be one of the most powerful Fast Castle builds we've ever had with the Earlsguard timing. He's going to begin with the spears. B definitely wants to get a deer shove, and Voldemar, already aware of it, is going to lane. Yeah, look at what Voldemar done. He done a short rotation, got 12 sheep, and then just came back to lane straight away. Great read. Against the prolific deer shove, I think like B has a bit of a problem. B has a big problem. Every game, he's expected to do this. And that can be a huge negative. So what you have to keep in mind is what makes him very solid, very advantageous, is there wasn't an anticipation in the early days, right? When the Dark Age deer shove meta began, I think B was the most prolific shover. And we've seen this with so many people. Like, if you outpost rush at first, like, very powerful with certain civs, but if you're the guy who always outpost rushes, well, then come on. I'm going to get in the game expecting you to do it. And I feel like B at the moment, no matter the civ, he's looking for a way to deer shove. Now, despite the laming, because he's up to 4 spears, he will at least get 1 deer stack. But you can kind of imagine how catastrophic this would have been if he didn't get such an absurdly good spawn for it. I wondered, is he maybe going to like try to deer shove the enemy? What? B. He's outpost rushing. Now, this is very unexpected, but he wants to deny the pro scouts play. This is such a B thing as well. There's not many people that I think would deviate like this from the original plan. And crazy read as well. Remember, with Lancaster, just like with English, in theory, you're actually really good at rushing a tower because your shortbow villager can poke at any villager trying to come back to contest this. Now, Voldemar, he done the right thing in not contesting this, by the way. He gathered the gold he needs. So Imperial Academy is on the way, and he's going to have enough gold to get his taxmen out. The problem for Voldemar here is this now feels like you cannot go pro scouts. The gold gen is going to be really slow. B. I mean, you could actually, like, considering your opponent's going to be a bit food-starved, and the risk of him now having to come out to get food, I think you could justify a white tower rush even more. And, well, with 6 workers on the gold, I do believe that's what we're getting out of the 3D clan member. The outpost rush is weird. I don't think it is. There's something interesting you have to think about here. We've seen the counterplay to the House of Lancaster castle rush. If you guys remember, game 1 between Dumu and Deniska showed us exactly that. It was Chinese versus House of Lancaster. In that game, Dumu found his timing, rushing the castle off of pro scouts, and then getting the crossbows out to defend. Imagine how difficult it is to contest Earlsguard when you can't get crossbows. Because you can't even afford an age up, let alone the cost of crossbows then after. This is pretty solid. Very craftily thought out. And there's the Lancaster castle now coming in. So he's going to build it up here, and I think he's going to keep the extra workers on the gold. I could be wrong, and this could just be a normie let's build manos game. But with the way he's opened this, it kind of looks like Earlsguard is the jackpot. Because remember, the difference between a Men-at-Arms rush and an Earlsguard rush is Men-at-Arms have to dive this TC. And hand cannon slit hurts. But with Earlsguard, you don't do any diving. Alright, like guys, whoa. Diving involves water and exercise. 2 things that gamers don't want to do because, hey, I ain't got time to exercise. I get out of breath grating cheese. And B, ain't no way I'm taking my electronics near water. The cool thing about Earlsguard, they're perfect for gamers. They just stand on the side and hurl things at you that kill you very quickly. Saying China is most dangerous when it's cornered, genuinely sounds like the response of someone in a free-for-all who's stuck in a corner and they like, I got second. It's like, yeah, but you killed no one. So let's see what Voldemar's response is going to be. He's adding in spears now. It's 2 on gold. Okay, no, B is not going the Earlsguard route. At least not in a rush. He's just gonna greed. Interesting. I mean, in fairness, he has still blocked his opponent off of the deer. Voldemar will gradually get towards Pro Scout still, though, if he chooses it. I mean, look at the taxation. He's almost got enough already. So now the spears are just going to take the outpost away. Why was B more interested in manners than actually just going age up? Did he maybe think that this timing was going to be too good from Voldemar, maybe? So although the outpost is annoying, he knew he couldn't keep him contested for long. Good micro. B. You notice the target fire coming in. Now, the interesting thing is that B, he could have potentially rushed fortifications here. Went a bit greedy with the iron slits. The village is going to be pulled. The spearmen have to react. Scout does go down. But, I mean, this is a lot of damage done to the Chinese spears, which heavily outnumber the Lancastrians. Finally, he's going to be target firing them down. Crazy it took this long to just kill them. Manners. Already starting to get added in, but it's only 1. I actually think there's a timing here for Voldemar. He chooses Pro Scouts instead, but it would have been quite intriguing to see him just ram rush. As crazy as that sounds, like there is a weird kind of opportunity here. He can still make it work because the problem with this Lancaster Castle, it doesn't protect the stone. This is another reason why I was a little bit surprised by B's choice to go Manners. His spawn is kind of terrible for it. The Golden Stone, like this is the nightmare. You rarely actually see it for Lancaster because it feels like most games, Golden Stone spawns together inevitably. But Alopecia has a tendency to split these. We see it on Voldemar's side as well. Gold on the east, stone on the west. In an ideal world, you want gold and stone both here because for mana spam, you need both. I guess maybe for B, he only wanted the level 1 mana. And now we are getting Yeoman, which makes sense. He's up against 10 spears. I'm wondering, though, like right now, does it feel like B is trying to play for his win condition or trying to stop Voldemar from reaching his? Because so far, everything that B's done in this game, at least after the deer lame, has felt like win condition denial. Actually, you could argue that the deer lame play from the deer shove, that was denial as well. B was trying to remove Pro Scout's value. It's about to call it Pro Scouts. How did you guys predict, by the way? 75% for B. Interesting. I wonder, like, one's in chat, when you made your prediction for, like, B, did you think you were going to be getting Earlsguard Rush? I actually wonder, this is going to be the more interesting one. 4's in chat if you think the Earlsguard Rush is the more powerful build than the busted one. Or 5's in chat if you think the mana spam is the busted build. I'm wondering if sentiment is shifting. And also, like, keep in mind the difference there. I'm saying busted, not annoying. I think most people are of the feeling that playing against manners is annoying. But it feels like sentiment has become less that it's outright broken, if that makes sense. It's strong. But what we've been seeing with these Earlsguard rushes has just been oppressive, man. Like, of the last, I think, 5 or 6 White Tower rush builds we've watched, only 1 has failed. Now, what's interesting is B, he's bulking quite a lot of Yeoman here. Voldemar has an upside, though. He's rushing castle. And that does devalue the idea of White Tower. I think probably B's looking to play into King's College here, especially with Hobblears. Yeah, because maybe his anticipation is Voldemar's going to rush the age and then look to play into Crossbow Lancer. What's surprising, actually, is like Hobblears with heal training do kind of okay into Lancers because of the initial charge damage. Not crazy, but like surprisingly effective for a light horseman. Yeoman are now going to go on the move. Rotation around the back, but Astronomer Clock Tower nicely placed. No exposed eco, remember. This was Pro Scouts after all. Voldemar actually has good vision on the map, so you can see what any follow-ups would look like. And I think B knows what's happening. Yeah, so he'll follow suit, and it will be greedy. I guess this turns into a relic race now. You feeling like B is becoming the Serral of AoE4? I don't know about that. I'm trying to think who B would be more comparative to. Really, you're looking for the Grand Innovator. I think Serral wasn't really focused on being the Grand Innovator. It almost feels like in your mind, you're forcing a comparison based on the fact that they're both like Zerg mains. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think like who StarCraft 2's greatest innovators have been. Like what B has been proving with the new expansion puts him aligned with the idea of Mister. Like I would still say the Grand Innovator is Mister, and no one is going to argue with that. In the history of AoE4, he has been the guy. But B has always been, I think, in the shadow of Mister for that reason. When Mister shows up, everyone's mind is blown. Oh my god, look at all the things he discovered. And then B has always been there, reliably coming through with these new, interesting builds. Just never, I think, getting the true blow up on attention that his counterpart did. This is a powerful build, folks. It is going to be the switch into the Knights. I really love this build. Collar of S's, remember, the weird thing about House of Lancaster, everyone always talks about the Yeomen. They're actually secretly an insanely good cavalry, sir. Collar of S's is HRE's heavy maces on horseback. You can mirror Knights and defeat them. Serral's just the GOAT? Yeah, like I think a fairer comparison to Serral would be Marine Lord, no? And then, I guess with Louis, I mean, there's that Chinese player for StarCraft, Oliveira, right? B is B. There's the biggest compliment of all. That's your goal in life, guys. At first, you get called to discount something, and then you're looking to be your own thing. Okay, does Voldemar realize what's happening here? Because it's very tricky to notice Collar of S's, the tech for the Knights. There's no visual indicator. You have to hover on them to see the bonus damage. I mean, look at that as well. 42 damage on a Lance Charge and 30 damage on a Sword Strike. Against heavily armored units, you're basically a Gilded Knight. Voldemar, wait, what? It's a Palace Guard switch. Okay, B's been given rather the blueprint to victory here. Nice Yeoman rocks pretty hard. We have going mad in the spears as well, which is kind of interesting. I mean, spears aren't bad. Remember, spears for Lancaster function as a support unit as well. You might need to support these villagers here. Dive coming in. Good pull away by B. Perfectly times it to minimize casualties. It's still going to be 2 going down. And more to come, actually. Voldemar hangs around. Does look to make his escape. He's not sure if Veterancy on Spears is on the way. Good timing as well, though. B was getting ready to go on the offensive with the Yeoman. Kept him back in his base, so buys time. Behind this, Voldemar is reaping the benefits of relics. What is up, Fat Blop? I'm going to reap the benefits of that. Appreciate the sub, mate. Did Hera play StarCraft 2? I do not believe so. I think Hera's always been an Age of Empires person. If you guys want a more interesting one, Leary would be the one for that. Leary was actually quite a high-ranking Dota 2 player. Not competitively, but he was very high-ranked on the leaderboards before switching over to AoE 2. And that is a weird transition, by the way. To go from MOBA to RTS is quite unusual. The other way around is expected. Sing Sing played a ton of AoE4. He did when it released. But Sing Sing plays a lot of variety of things. He's also played a lot of Age of Myth, even before Retold. That's a low interception. Lancers have got the +1 armor, so fairly tanky here, but reminder about those knights. How scary. So tricky now to catch the Yeoman on top of that. Like, it feels like you need knights to deal with this, but you just get destroyed by the Lancastrian ones. Love the switch into Horseman. It's a great read by Voldemar. Great for control on the mid-map. His only issue is going to be once he gets back to the base. B has got 18 Spearmen in reserve. They are now on the way. Now, interesting that B actually didn't bring them with him, but I think he was worried about the Lancer raids. However, seeing that the Horseman switches come in, I think now he probably just moves the army together. Because the threat of Lancer raids is pretty small now. Though it takes a lot of quick decision making. Oh, yes. And also, it's interesting, actually. I imagine a player like B would have loved Dota 2. Because Dota 2 is less about a build order. Like, when you play high-level Dota 2, there's a lot of dynamic play. You don't just follow a set order. Even in the other game, actually, at the highest level. Defensive flash here, Voldemar. He has got vision advantage over this fight and jumps the back line. B, a bit greedy with the placement. Completely out of position here. Great fight from Voldemar. Able to wipe the bulk of the Yeoman. He is sacrificing a lot of backline right now, though. Are you kidding me, B? He gets fully exposed, makes the best of the situation to take as many crossbows with him as possible. Like, for Voldemar, that should have been a fight where he finishes with, what, 30+ military alive. Ends up losing the heart of the crossbow line, though. And behind this, B is just scaling. We've got the final mana tier being unlocked. Relic Split is still up in the winds. This hasn't been secured yet. Voldemar needs to pick up the relics ASAP. Nest of B switch is interesting. Yeoman, I mean, yes, you can't play them, but they're sometimes just so tricky to actually catch. Voldemar has been doing a good job of scaling that lead. Just courtesy of the Song Dynasty, we also have a farm transition underway. Reminder that when it comes to B, his economy is raw manners for food. And whatever gathering unlimited resources he can find between. Voldemar with the Treb? It's not as premature as you'd think. Look how short the distance is between the bases. It just looked deceptive because they were playing south side. I actually like this timing. Especially after B just got stripped of so much army count. Anyone know how is the hero experiment going with AoE2? So, like, it was interesting because apparently there was, like, Microsoft employees that were baiting numbers. Like, I think I remember listening to one of the AoE2 podcasts where they said the reception had been really good. And it turned out it was a bait because the reviews, like, AoE2's DLC kind of bombed when it was released on reviews. I'm not sure how it's doing now, though. I think it's inherently harder to introduce that type of thing into AoE2 than 4. Because 2 has been rooted in the way it plays for a very long time. SBs. Look at those spears, but B doing a good job of eradicating the front line. Now the Yeoman left over to deal with the crossbows. If just 1 or 2 knights can sneak in here, they can snipe out the nest of bees. No Billman is a big deal, by the way. I was kind of shocked at the fact that it wasn't there. Those Pulse Guard, funnily enough, not last that long against Yeoman, but a lot longer than they maybe should have. B, now just going to dive in. This is where Nestibes gets a bit weird. They look really busted when there's like 40, 50 military units, but when you're down to like 10, the saturation damage is kind of irrelevant. So B able to trade out efficiently here. He's taking like 1 Yeoman loss for 1 crossbow is happy. He still does need to access the B is the problem. And he's got a way of doing it. Muster the Nobles is pretty cool. Interesting time for B to do this. Muster the Nobles definitely would have felt more impactful back when your opponent had Lancer play. Because remember, with that heavy damage buff on Knights, it applies to Demi Lancers as well, and essentially functions as about a 60% damage buff. Because they have base 9 damage and plus 6 to get to heavy. And yeah, like to the point of like AoE2 changes, I think in general, whenever you have a game that's existed for a long time, it is, and if you do not have the game state evolve rapidly, regularly, it's very hard to introduce new mechanics. I think that applies for a lot of games. Demi Lancers. 160 HP on each of these, by the way. They aren't going to get bonus against the siege. So clock towers are pretty tanky, hard to deal with. Voldemar is sturdy, though, with this economy. Look at the state of the granaries. Look at the fact that he's got a 16 worker lead right now. So man is strong. And, you know, if B is able to stalemate this up to maximum pop, I'll favor him. But, like, right now, Voldemar, very competitive on the economy. A little bit surprised he actually doesn't have the full lead, but I think that's because of the idle time when he's switching onto things. And we also have some extra stone gathering. I'm wondering if he's looking for a keep drop. A castle in the center would be pretty smart here. Your opponent's spammed a lot of manas in this area. If you castle drop here, you can siege everything behind it. And B. Okay. Yeah, I guess he just wants to secure the ball side. He's got spotted out here. This is a pretty heavy lean, though. Bringing the entire army up here. Maybe he was expecting Voldemar to play out for resources. I'm starting to wonder if B is actually aware of just how deep the granary transition is. I mean, he's rotating around the back, and in fairness, there isn't a castle drop there to protect the area yet. Yeah, it makes sense, actually, when you look at the vision of B, like what he'll be seeing here. He's not seeing gold gathering in the center from his opponent. And he sees all these gold veins north. So for him, it probably feels quite organic to kind of shuffle up here and then maybe push in. Lancaster's not as OP as people think. Yeah. I think Lancaster, like, this is residual effect. We just had someone earlier saying, like, they hate, like, Jean, it should be removed. But it's like, Jean is pretty tame these days. And I think, well, Lancaster, I'm not going to call them tame. They're definitely not the biggest balance issue in the game. They are probably, with their economy, the biggest design issue on the Civ side right now. But in terms of, oh my god, OP. Definitely not the biggest. And by the way, when I say the design, I'm fine with all the units. The only one I might change, actually, at this stage, is Earlsguard. I think Earlsguard's dagger throw needs to be tweaked a bit. But I'm fine with this idea that I have very polarizing, strong units of A, B, or C. The economy, actually, there's, like, quite often seen as the issue. So hold on, now bulking Pulse Guard. A little bit tricky against this many yeomen. Remember, PG inherently have less ranged armor. And this is one of the better archers at kiting you out anyway. Not just that, he is continuing to scale knights. I guess the only thing really left here is Sync Shot, which would be huge considering Voldemar is probably going to be like hunkering in choke points in his base. This to be his defense. Bit of a nuisance. I wonder if it's worth B just building one trebuchet to break these down fast. I've got him at least trying to poke at the flanks. I think B is maybe contemplating an age up. I could envision a Berkshire in the center here. Then again, Wingard might just feel a lot nicer. There's no real pressure on him right now. Barkey's more a reaction to something coming. And with Voldemar playing hard into siege and crossbows, it doesn't really scream, I'm going to attack you. Like right now, Voldemar is in a please don't hurt me phase. I think B is good, but maybe one thing that potentially hurts him is that he mostly practices with Cat and Atan Scatterbrain. They have very different playstyles compared to MLB's do. So I can see where you come from there, but like sometimes your goal is to basically force. So there's different types of players. There's ones that take what is known and they try to perfect it. And there are ones that try to force the meta to their being. And I think B fits that. He wants you to have to come play his style. And it makes sense, right? Because if you are right and everyone has to follow suit into what your playstyle ends up being, what your idea of the meta is, you're inherently already ahead of them. Because they're playing catch-up. I don't mind that. The idea, like, if you're behind on the meta, you should try to play the meta, doesn't always work. Because, like, if you're completely behind on the meta and you're following someone's shadow, you're never going to catch up. If they're playing the same amount of games as you or more, you're like, a player like Beast and Greenlord are going to play just as many, if not more. This is why we even see it strategically in individual games. You know? Like, if you see mirrors nowadays, and a guy goes 2TC, but you're 3 minutes later to the idea of going 2TC, do you go 2TC or do something else? You do something else. Because otherwise, you're just admittedly doing the same thing worse. And we see the same nowadays with castle trends. Often when someone goes castle age, the other player tries to attack. This has been a long castle age, but I think we are approaching the point where maybe Voldemar wants to try and get out. But B is keeping him honest to the age right now. A lot of Yeoman, but also a lot of nested E's. And it's about to be even more Yos. Check that. Shy Levy's on the way. Knights are going to try to ride in. Are going to be able to start sniping targets here. And the crossbows, they have to front line. Oh no, Voldemar. He didn't respect the Yos. The SCBs start to stagger away from this, but there's not much of a front line left. Luckily, he has at least sniped most of the Knights, so the siege will be able to escape. But look at the military difference. This is insane. Voldemar, he was floating so much resource. Looked like he was half thinking about castle into Imperial Age. On top of that, the stone would have been great to secure this area, but he never reached that point. While B went for a double down in this age, and now has over double the military influence. And Sink Shot is finally on the way. I'm a bit surprised we didn't get it sooner, especially against this comp. Spearmen plus crossbows is the dream. Yeomen trade out really well against Expos. They get bonus against spears. I think Voldemar, like the whole idea here at the heart of it is Nesta Bees to win the game. And in theory, like it works if you are fighting in smaller areas, choke points, etc. But coming out in the open was the crux. B. I wonder, does he now just take the age up? He's still got some military wiggle room, but he's actually stopped producing, so looks like Imperial is on his mind. I wondered if he was actually going to try Hobbler to solve the Nest of Ease issue. Very, very good with the hill training tech at sniping siege. But I guess he just sees it as an easier win. Just take the age up, get those Yos upgraded. Maybe even look towards incendiary tech. And yeah, probably another player in the last relic. Okay, B has, he hasn't picked it up though, weirdly enough. It's quite often one of these relics spawns really close to the cliffs and people just don't realize it. Voldemar. I like the horseman switch. PG as well. I mean, we talked about this with the issue against Knights. It's going to work out okay because we can see what B is actually doing, but like obviously Voldemar doesn't have that info. He sees someone attacking him who's, funnily enough, teching behind this. It's just striking the house like, yo, is anyone home? Knock, knock. Hero pass down from Boldy. Whoa. Okay, so, I mean, he has got pagodas as an option here with Triple Relic. The movement speed is key, though. He's just looking to gap close with these Horsemen and PG. Because Yeomen are just so good at kiting. Speaking of which, with so little Horsemen, I mean, there's no way you can really threaten this many Yeomen. And B's just playing with his food at this point. Right, in this retreat, like, he understands the Nest of Bees will never catch him. Tech out completes, and now Voldemar probably feels even more like he needs to commit something. So leaves a bunch of PG behind. Funnily enough, actually runs the rest of the army home. So I guess he's going to play catch-up here into Imperial. Has got a lot of farms to do, so Voldemar is now sitting up at 40. Yo, upgrade. Just 50 seconds out. With Wingard being the optimal choice, we have got the garrisons on the way. So it'll be Mass Spearman plus Earlsguard. Okay. That's pretty nuts. I mean, the way that B played this was very elegant. He didn't leave any room for his tech up to seem greedy, which is why he gets away with Wingard. And I wonder if there's ever a world in which he considers Earlsguard. I mean, not with the crossbow currently standing at his count. Like, over time, it's inherently going to happen with the garrison commands. And maybe there's a world in which by spamming spears, you force your opponent to go, like, PG. At which point, House of Lancaster Earlsguards can destroy Palace Guard. Because, like, as the game now goes on, with the Stone Gathering, B could start securing castles. It's a very underrated element. We don't get to see it to its full extent, but reminder, with the House Unified buff, you can get +4 damage on each of these men-at-arms. Scuttage on the way as well. A White Tower to be built, but the Yeomen are already in range. Singshot's going to come in. Good dodge there by Voldemar. Nest of Bees. Actually uses Singshot onto them. Yeah, not happening, dog. Remember, these things have 50% more health and 85% ranged armor resistance. The Yeomen aren't going to be able to carry that fight. That's right, they should not. So B, after being a bit cheeky about this, has to back away. Both players now in the fort phase. B. I mean, surely you're thinking, like, Covenant, maybe? It's so weird against China. Trying to play Season into China feels bad every time. It's the clock tower effect. Like, yeah, you can build Colves, but they can build clock tower bombards. And ooh, sink shot. He guessed wrong. Did B actually see where the gate was? Maybe he was intentionally targeting the spears. He doesn't catch the workers. He has caught Voldemort in a bit of a sticky situation. Gold access is heavily limited here. Nest of B's count is most definitely not. Okay, so what is keeping B away from Hobblears is what I'm now wondering. Surely they would feel fantastic here. Remember, a Hobblear does 44 damage with hill training and veterancy. I think it goes up to like 60 damage almost in Imperial, which means you could 3 or 4 hit Nest of B's. It's definitely the thing that he's missing, but instead he's trusting Knights. I guess for B, the thought is if he goes into Hobblears, his opponent will have access to food and wood. But the thing that Voldemort doesn't have great access to at this pacing is gold. So he's trying to starve him out there and then prep Knights to run him through. Which sounds weird because, like, I mean, Spears, good against Knights as well. But obviously a Knight 1-to-1 will fare a lot better than Hobbies. And also as a front line, right? It's just a good way of clearing Palace Guard. Just knob count. Knights. Just enough PG to block them, but they're actually going to dive for it. I'm going to find one. But the Spears won't need to get through here. There's no staggered formation. They're just going to full and dive. Yeoman with a sink shot. The damage nowhere near good enough. The Spearman follow-up, maybe. He's sacrificing a lot for this. I think B's reached that point where he's just saying, screw it. I know I can afford to lose things. You cannot. And it's working out. I mean, the Yeoman, it's an expensive fight, but they're clearing the wave. That's the B's count now down to just 3 after all that. Second wave of PG is going to come in. B definitely taking a heavy hit there. He was up at what, 60, 70 Yeoman. So loses half of them. Maybe sees it was worth it considering how much Voldemort had to sacrifice in response though. We finally have Elite Knight tech in. A bit more chunky. I think we're actually missing Unitech on, I want to say both sides here. We haven't really seen much of it. No uni for B whatsoever. And I believe Voldemort, yeah, he literally only has 1 blacksmith. So neither player has found their way into the technologies that could easily win these fights. Despite that, though, B is doing a great job of grinding Voldemort down. Voldemort not focusing the archers? When they spread, it's very difficult. It's also like, once you start to see that front line disintegrate, what's going to kill you faster, a spearman or your own? A spearman is going to kill you quicker. So I kind of understand where Voldemort's coming from, but the problem right now is it feels like a lot of his solutions are gold locked. If he can just solve that problem, great. But it's so much easier said than done. He hasn't even built the pagodas, folks, which is surprising for a guy. Wait, did he cancel the Yuan? He did. I didn't even glance that. He was building Imperial Palace ages ago too. And then close to completion, just gave up on it. And finally, we do have the incendiary text coming in. So this is the game changer, guys. The fights are not going to be very close anymore. Yeah, Voldemort, I mean, if he could find elite army tactics, maybe. Extra health with the Harden goes a long way. You notice, like, the Nest of Bees remax never happened. Voldemort is just stuck one-dimensionally into Palace Guard. PT. We'll try to wiggle around the back. I don't know, man. Like, Palace Guard against Yeoman just feels so sad. At least against Lombos, you know you can catch them. But Yeoman move at the same movement speed. Which I know in some people's like mind sounds kind of giga-busted, but... I mean, archers move at the same speed as men-at-arms, right? Well, actually quicker. does Voldemar now do? I've been kind of stumped as to what Voldemar's golden plan is for this. I think he's just trying to survive until something opens up. And, you know, like in some situations that works for China because of the infinite economy on gold, right? They can tax. Plus he has relic advantage. But problem is Lancaster manners, man. They have just as much infinite resource pump. In fact, superior resource pump. And this is crazy now. Padded Jack. I feel like Padded Jack is quite an underrated tech. It gets skipped a lot, but it's super effective. Plus 3 armor here. Onto basically 2/3 of your comp. Spears and lombos. Actually makes your spearmen incredible tanks against Palestine. The whole kit can build it, by the way. Wait, he's getting cannoneers. Burgundian imports on the way. Remember, the point in Burgundian imports is that it gives you access to hand cannons and castle age. So why build it in the Imperial Age? Because it makes them 25% cheaper. Which is interesting mathematically, because it means by the time you've built 8 hand cannoneers, Burgundian imports would have paid for itself. A small raid by the PG unit for back farms. Trying to punish B for not having walls. And Voldemar has done a good job of getting some space, so what now? Because what I'm seeing right now, I mean, the gold is still looking a bit awkward. And we're not seeing a real transition. Spear? Wait, what? Is this because he's out of gold? I'm trying to figure out why you'd want spears here. I mean, I guess there's a decent number of knights, but against mass yeomen, that's scary. Give me those yos. They are going to arrive in the big fight. Remember also, like, your spears are just worse than Lancastrian spears. And we do now have Culverins on the way from B. I think he's had enough. He's finally going to be looking to break in. Notice how things have kind of slowed down a bit. Voldemar, despite the fact he's got 3.5k food, it's not like he's got this huge reserve of units pumping. The drainage matters a lot here. Meanwhile, B, he's bulking reserves. That's important because after the next big fight, you have to ask who can get their troops back up faster. Also just kind of benefiting from these losses if you think about it. Down to Knight Eco, but that just means more wiggle room for more army. I do wonder if this game would just become a lot more simplistic for B if he walled. Because that's the thing for Voldy, just these Palace Guard very good raiders due to the move speed. Sink shot. Heavy load of damage coming in. Way to scare him away. The military number is just getting bigger and bigger and smaller and smaller. Oh my god, they strike off. And we even have biology. Yeah, would it be more cost efficient for B to go Ulsgaard instead of Knights? Probably not, because he either walls and goes Ulsgaard, or he leaves it unwalled and goes Knights, right? There's definitely an argument to be made that eventually he won't be able to afford these Knights. But we're still quite a way off that. Has anyone else just been kind of saying here, like, trying to figure out what Voldemar's end goal is? I think he was just hoping to reach this point where the Pascal brother could just flank raid, and it would chip away at the economy. But B, like, he's done such a good job of stockpiling reserves. 5,000 wood, 2.4k food. The gold is maybe the limiting factor. But at the heart of the army, he's been leaning hard on Yeoman and Spim to solve that problem. Speaking of the Spear Yo, they're now going to start pressing in. We should have Culverins on the way. That's going to be to address the Great Wall Gatehouse. The Palace Guard are being ignored. He didn't actually move the villagers away. So expected the Knights to maybe mop this up just a bit faster. But now that he's no longer distracted, he's going to force Voldemar to keep all PG at home. Great timing by B. Before this, Voldemar was benefiting from the fact that he could just go on the flanks. B was running around his base. There wasn't that pressure point. As soon as it starts to come towards you, you feel this necessity to put all the boys on the defense. Got a wave of Knights coming in. That should be good enough to hold back the Palace Guard. The hand cannoneer count gradually growing, just not in a rush. And well, look at that. We talked about the Earlsguard potential. He thinks he's cracked that point. We're going to be getting the throwing dagger drills, which remember gives the AoE. I think, was there some proxy play? No, it's just outpost down here. There's no flank attacks. We've got keep drops coming in. That's what makes this a sick timing, actually. B, it's only one castle, but White Tower as well. Oh, sorry, no, he didn't, did he? No, he went Lancaster. Oh, with the stone available on the map, though, he could easily scale his damage up. +4 of Elite Army Tactics goes a hell of a long way. Valiant effort by Voldemar, but looking at this military count, I just think we've kind of reached the conclusion. I mean, it was a decent effort. I could see what Voldemar was kind of aiming for, but I think the pain of gold is what killed him here. B's control of the center mattered a lot more than the flank control because of the gold access. Now B will be able to get access to the back of those farms. Voldemar, full idle timeout. While he's trying to remax army, feels like a killing blow. Knights going to be able to close out the control on the gold on the south side. Wait, we actually have extra materials. I don't think you rarely see that. Game 1 will end up being a win for B. Credit to Voldemar for actually keeping it going this long. I mean, don't know if that's just the inherent nature of China. Or maybe the power of the kid. But we've seen before, Voldemar capable of getting wins up against B, so do not write him off just yet. Definitely feels like a hell of a blow to leverage China and then come out with a loss here, though. And feel free to redeem timeouts on him, okay? He just exposed himself as a Chinese man. Too many nerfs made China weak late game. Nani? Gotta give him credit, by the way. Like, B just beat Palace Guard Flood without walls. He has built 0 walls against Mass Palace Guard. That's rare. It's taboo, I think, at this stage, it'd be fair to say, to not build walls against Palace Guard. I guess Lancaster's just built death. Oh, bless Voldemar. He's just been trying to actually sneak in defenses on the back here. Second wave has arrived. At this point, I think he's just processing the L. Especially now the Nesta Bees are going down. GG gets called. A 0 wall game against Mass Palace Guard. That's crazy.